At Shivering Sands, and I'd just like to talk you through a very sort of simple video on how to reset your styles for browsers. I'll explain what that means as we go along, but it's pretty straightforward. So here we are in Brackets, which is a free piece of software readily available to download. If you've got the Adobe Creative Suite, this is called Code as part of the package, but the interface is exactly the same. So in the inside our body tags here, we've got an H1, an H2 and a paragraph of text. If I head over to Google Chrome and then open this in the browser, you can see we've got my heading there, my H2 and my paragraph of text. Notice that there's a certain amount of default styling being applied to this without me actually adding any style to it. I haven't physically said to the H1 be bold and black and that particular size and the paragraph to be much smaller and lighter. That is the style sheet that's being applied to the browser. Now that's kind of great, but every browser is ever so slightly, or it can be ever so slightly different, especially some of the old Internet Explorer browsers, and you'll find that the spacing around it can be very slightly different. If you want to get things as close to the same on each device, it's a really good idea to reset your styles. By resetting, it means basically take those default browser styles and wipe them out, get rid of them. So how do we go about doing that? Well, there's a fantastic resource here by Eric Mears. I'm never sure if that's how you pronounce his name, but fabulous guy. If you're into web at all, you should know about this guy and have read all of his stuff. But let's whiz down. That's his web address there, and it's inside the Tools, CSS and Reset. And what we basically need to do is we need to grab his Reset Styles code, which is here. So from that very top bit down to that bottom bit there, we're going to copy it and we're going to head back into Brackets. Now ideally at this stage you put it in its own style sheet. I like to call it reset.css and stick it into there. But just to save us some time, we don't have to fiddle around too much, I'm going to put it inside some style tags at the top of the page here. So I'm going to paste that in place and let's hit save. And then I'm going to head back over to the browser, head back to my document and hit refresh. And straight away you can see what's happened. So now the H1, the H2 and the paragraph, they've got no spacing, no margins, no padding around them. And they've got no font weight and they're all the same sizes. Now that might seem quite scary if you're new to web, but trust me, in the long run, it gives you full control over your web content. It now means we can go in and make our style changes and know exactly what styles are being implemented. We don't have to worry about what the browser's doing because we've squared all of those off. So as an example, if I now went back into Brackets and I talk to the H1, like so, oh, Brackets always adds that extra. And now we can apply a font size, so let's go for something crazy, a bit big, and let's add a little bit of margin to it as well. And we could, if we wanted to, we could put font weight back in, but we could maybe just do it at a lighter font weight rather than full bold. If we go back over to the browser, hit refresh, you can now see it's a big font, it's bold or semi-bold, and it's got a little bit of margin around it, so there's some margin there if you'd want to do that. It's completely dependent on your project, but it's got basically space all the way around. So that's how you reset styles. It's a simple, basic tool that you should use on every single project. If you happen to be using a framework, a CSS framework like Bootstrap, for instance, the reset styles are already in place for you, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. But if you're starting from scratch, then you would definitely want to head over, grab those reset style codes and plug those in there. Okay, thanks for watching and I'll see you in another video soon.